Right, here we go. We're back to section number 3, part number 3 on this. I left you with doing some homework. Hope you did that. What we wanted to do during that time between the last video and now, we wanted to take our tools and go around here and clear out all of the straps, straighten up all the edges, take the sharp edges off the edge. I didn't do it on this one. And I wanted you to do that between the clasp and the round to the buckle. So we did that for all of those. I went through and did all the little pages in here. And then what we want to do now is we want to start adding some of the details. So part of that is being able to bring the cover of the book below the strap. So here's the strap. We want to make sure that that looks like it's tucked in behind it. And so that's what would look like in reality, is around the edges of this strap, we would have the cover of the book looking like it's tucked under it. So I'm going to take the time to do that. That's what we're doing on this video. And I'm doing that on every part where the strap and the cover come in contact. Just tucking everything under there. Looks like that. See how they're tucked in there, tucked in there, tucked in there, tucked in there. We want to do that on all the sides of the cover here. And then we're going to make that strap stick out. Part of that is removing wood, and part of that is just shaving a little bit here and there. Okay. So now go ahead and do that on your time, or if you can catch up. I'm going to move forward, and what we're going to do now is separate the strap from the book. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a longer knife than this because I need to tuck it back in there. So I'm going to get the longest knife that I have. Here's the biggest, longest knife I have. It's the only Helvey. It's the only Helvey I think I own anymore. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that knife flat, tuck the tip right under that strap, and I'm just going to engrave. Sorry, I'm going to make a cut right underneath that strap. Maybe you can see it, maybe not. See it right there. I made that cut up under there. I'm actually going to do that about 2 or 3 times, just so I can get it up under there. And I want to shave right along the edge of that where the strap and the book comes in. Then once I do that, I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to go up under that strap. I'm removing wood on the sides of the strap so that I can make it look like it's tucked up under. The book should look like the leather is tucked up under the book is tucked up under up under that strap. So there should be a little bit of an indentation. If you don't get it, go back in here and do more, but take wood off of the book side. So you need to just shave a little bit here, right up under that, and angle it down so that when you do that a couple of times, you're getting more of the book coming out, and we can tuck it out or bring it out. Tuck that book cover underneath that strap. We're going to do that all the way around. When you're done, you should be able to see the slightest little shadow up under that edge right there. Okay, so take the time to do that on all sides. You got this side, this side, this side, and this side. And then you've got the spine. So we're doing this on all of them. So I've cut up under this one. I'm going to cut up under the bottom side of that. So I'm going to lay my knife almost completely flat, and I'm slicing a cut underneath that strap. I'm going to do that 2 or 3 times. Just go up under there, make that cut fairly deep, maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. And then when I come back, I'm going to come back and start taking that wood off with my fishtail gouge. So I'm trying to tuck this book back up under that leather strap. And it's okay if you got to do this 2 or 3 times. The point is to get it done, not to get it done fast, but to get it done correctly. And now take a look at that and see how far up under there you are. You may have to do this 2 or 3 times. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not doing it wrong. You just need to make sure you're taking off enough so that it shows a shadow up under there. That when you move it around, you can see that the wood is tucked up under that part that becomes the strap. So I'm going to do that, cut it off. And I should be able to see up under there. Okay, so it's one side and one side. I'm going to do that again here. I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to drag it right under that piece of strap. A couple, 2 or 3 cuts just to make sure. And come back in and tuck it up. For speed purposes, I'm going to take my knife, just cut right along that edge. Okay, I'm not as deep as I want to be, and so I'm going to do that again with a slightly higher angle, and then do that again. Just remember, we're carving to the strap, which now leaves the part behind my blade back over here bulged. So we're going to have to come back and clean that up. So I got to come back here and get that to flatten out at the back side. Because I don't want it going down at an angle. I want it going straight in, straight across. And so this way I want to make sure as I go across, I'm making it about as flat and straight as I can. Okay, I'm going to do the inside of that strap here. Again, put that up under there, tuck it there, cut, slice, get that knife up under there so that you can relieve the wood and show a shadow. I'm going to do it again. You can be very dangerous here where if your fingers are not anchored and holding on to that, because if I was up here without an anchor, I'm anchoring right here. If I wasn't anchoring, there's a possibility I could have a cut or cut something off of the wood that I don't want to cut. So when you're doing this, be extremely careful, because it doesn't take much for you to get injured on this cut, because you're pulling straight towards your hand, which is holding wood. One slip and it could be that you got a boo-boo. We don't want that. Okay, I'm gonna make one more cut. You can do it away from yourself if you got good hand-eye control and strength. You can do it going away from yourself. I feel like I lose control when I'm doing it that way. So I'm gonna do it this way. Get up under there, tuck it, cut it off. You're not gonna see a lot of shadow, but you're gonna see a little bit. And that's all you need. Sometimes all you need is the intimation of it. You don't need it really harsh. You just need enough so that you can see it. Okay, we do that on both sides of the wood, just like we've done. We're going to cut this one and make it flat again. It's going against the grain, so depending on how sharp your knife is or your tool, it could come off easily, and it could be a booger to get off if your tools are not sharp enough. Okay, So we've got both of these sides. We're going to do that to this side now. Undercut, slice in about 1/8 to 1/4. Do the first cut, run through, bring the second one straight into that same cut, go a little bit deeper if you can. And if you can get it off where you're taking wood off the outside of it, that's even better. So now I'm going to just tuck my tool up under that strap. Clean up that edge there. Let me get a wider one. One more side we got to do. Here's the bottom. We're going to slide that in. And cut it off. Gotcha, that one came out pretty good. We'll feel like we got to do another cut there. Okay. All right, we've undercut all this. Now all we have to do is these two parts here and these back here. So these don't take quite as much. I'm just going to take a little bit off the underneath part, and then come back in here and cut that off. I want to give it the impression that these pages are embedded back in there. Lay it flat, pull it over, go back and cut it out. We'll clean that up with a V-tool in a little bit, but we want to get that cut made where we can slide the knife blade under there so it looks like that strap is sticking out of the rest of the book. Okay, cut that piece off, clear it out. Back over here, cut along that underside. Come back and cut off the upper side and get rid of that. Same thing over here. This we don't have to worry about the pages, so no big deal. We don't have to come back and clean that up and look at it underneath it. I'm going to trim off the edges. They're sticking out just a little bit more than I want. Okay. Do this side. Pull that knife under. cut it off. All right. Looks a little rough because we're in the rough stage. We're not in the finished stage yet, so we're not worried about that. Looks a little rough, but we're okay. So now we've done the strap. We've done we got the buckle still left. We did the pages. Right in here, we're going to have a face, and then we got to make a decision on what we're going to do here, and then we can clean up with the buckles. One of the things I like to do with these is the piece of strap that we have, which is leather. I want to make a cut that goes all the way around. It shows like a sewn edge. Now I can do that with a particular tool that I have. It's called of course I would be put on the spot punch. It's called a punch, where you roll around and it makes little indentations. It looks a lot like they're sewn. I don't have one handy here. It's probably across the room, and rather than take a lot of time to dig it out, I'm just going to take a V-tool. I'm just going to go along, and I'm using a really tiny V-tool. This is a WeV, a Ramelson WeV. It's really, really tiny. There's not a lot of V there. Sorry about it being blurry. Let me show you what I'm going to do. Nearly up close. I'm going to come right along here, right along that edge, and I just want to follow that edge out about 1/16 of an inch, or close to that. I'm just making an indentation there that looks like it was sewn. Steady hands, patience, focus. I'm fond of telling my students that speed kills, especially when you're doing something that requires delicacy and straight lines. And so I just taught a class at our local woodcraft on chip carving, and one of the big things I talk about in that is that speed kills. If you're trying to hurry to get all those little triangles cut out, and you're not as experienced as, say, the instructor is, or some of these experts are, that speed is going to get you. And so you end up with chips that are all kinds of different sizes, broken out, whatever, and you got a lot of cleanup to do. Not saying you can't do it. It's just there's a lot of cleanup to do that, to make those all match. So maybe someday I'll do a chip carving class, but probably not anytime soon. Not the best chip carver in the world. I'm doing a free form chip carving class at the end of the month at Woodcraft, and so maybe we'll get a few more people over to the chip carving side. Maybe they'll enjoy that and have a good time. We'll hook a few more people into carving. I say hook because once you're here, you're hooked. You can't go a day without carving. At least I can't. I feel like I can't. Okay, again, I'm just making these seams, these long runs with a V-tool. Make sure you're anchored correctly so that everything comes out and you don't go sliding off to the side like that. If you feel like you got to do two rows of stitching, feel free. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that when you're using your V-tool, that the ears stay outside of the wood. If they get embedded under the wood, then it starts to tear out, and that just really kills your carving. Because now you got to go by and make a big correction on what you're doing. Sometimes that's just a little hard to do. You're in the groove of carving, and all of a sudden you got to stop producing and you got to start fixing. That's never a lot of fun. I mean, it can be rewarding when you fix something that you screwed up or somebody else does and you're fixing it for them, but it's still not a lot of fun to have to be constantly fixing your mistakes. If you're like me and you're accident prone, make a lot of mistakes, and we spend a lot of time fixing them, and I hate creating them to start with, but Again, I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be me, and me is not perfect. I am me. I can't be anybody else. All right, I think it's about time to start doing, start doing some of our buckles here, and I need a different size tool. The first thing I like to do on the buckle is cut out where this leather strap, the end of the leather strap is. So I'm just going to come out here and I cut off this line. Don't make it farther in on the wood than you need to, because this belt loop tip is going to be, in reality, it's going to be under, it's going to be sticking out over top of this wood. So I've got a knife and I'm going to come in here. I've made that cut. So now I'm going to deepen it with my knife. And then I'm going to take my big gouge that I showed you a while ago, and it matches that cut that I made. And so what I'm going to do is now cut that off. I'm relieving the piece of leather at the tip of the belt from the belt in line. Don't worry about it being perfect, just worry about it looking okay. We're not looking for perfect. Okay, cutting off those ugly lines. And I've got the inside, I've got the outside of it cut. So I've got to relieve this piece out here lower than this one. So I'm going to cut it. And be careful as I turn that corner, because that wood is going to want to split out. It's very thin out there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chip away a little bit of that. I don't want a lot cut out of there, but I want enough to make that little piece of leather stick out. Come on. You hate it when one little fiber of wood keeps the whole thing from coming out of there like you want it to. Then you go to pick at it, and pretty soon you got a lot of fuzzies to clear out. So practice on making strong, secure cuts so that you can get this thing where it needs to go. Cut that right over to there, cut that off right there, and cut that right there. There we go. We'll clean a little bit of that up when we do our final cleanup. We just want that sticking out. And because this is the piece of leather that's lower than this, when we make this cut right here, which is the outside of the brass buckle, I'm going to tuck a little bit. I made a stop cut in there, and I'm going to relieve it to that buckle so that it looks like the buckle sticks out a little bit further. You see that? The buckle is higher than the belt. So get my little fuzz killer, my brush. It looks a little better. I got a little bit of cleanup in there. I'll do it with my tool. I'm going to outline this other part of the buckle. Okay, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did on the other side. I'm going to tuck that leather up under that buckle. clasp, whatever word you use. Now you can see we cut off those lines that we'll have to put back on there. Okay, V-tool again. I'm going to cut out the 3 parts, 3 lines on the inside of that buckle. I want to carve to the inside. I don't want to carve to the outside. It makes it a little bit bigger than I want it to be. Okay. So now I'm going to little tiny gap V-tool. I'm going to take off whatever that little metal piece is that goes through the belt loop. Somebody put it in the chat, so I'll look at it later and know what it is. I don't know what it's called. I just know that belts have to have something that goes through the other end to hold it in place. So somebody please help me out. I don't know what it is. I've never had occasion to look it up, but I'm just making that fit right in there. I want to go around the 3 sides, to the top, the bottom, and the one side. And I'm just going to make this a little bit lower than the clasp there. So I've got my fishtail gouge out, and it's too big, so we better grab that other little one. There we go. Grab that other little one, and we're just going to tuck it in there. That stop cuts that I made helps me do that. I can come back here now because I'm wider. I can tuck that in from that little dingle bob or whatever it's called to the edge. Tuck in those lines again, the sewing lines. And I'm just going to go around it with a little knife, and I just want to take the real sharp edges off. This old clasp is old and worn out, so it's been around a few years. So it's going to look a little less than pristine. And right here on the front. Okay, and do the same thing over here. I'm going to take can't find a tool because it's laying right in front of me. Do the same thing here. I'm going to outline the end of that belt and make sure that I cut both sides of it correctly. There we go. Again, I'm going to take a little knife and right in there on that belt tab end, I'm going to indent it with a stop cut, come back with my big tool, take that off. Okay, then we're going to tuck that up. I'm going to make a stop cut right here. I'm going to tuck that belt tab under the buckle. You know what I didn't do over here? If this is all sewn here on this leather, it's going to be sewn on the end of that tab too. So we better make that happen. So right around that tab, I just want to follow the same edge of it so that I'm making it look like it's been sewn as well, or held together somehow. Okay, do the same thing here. Follow that line around, showing the sewn line. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with this loop, or this clasp buckle, like we did on the other side. Cut the front down. Back's already been cut down. Bring my gouge in so that I can give it some kind of little shape to it. Okay. I'm going to come in here with my little bitty V-tool and make this little metal, for lack of a better word, thing. And then we'll go in here and we'll V-tool here, V-tool here, V-tool here, stop cut here. This is the inside of the buckle, inside of the buckle, inside of the buckle. Take my small fishtail gouge and relieve that wood there. Come off of there, didn't go deep enough. There we go. Take that one off of there. don't want to cut, does it? There we go. Fishtail gouge to the outside of that inside part. Outside, inside part. And I think we're just about done with those things. This is the part I don't really enjoy of this project. I may have to design it where I do enjoy it. It's these little details that sometimes just they're time killers, but they make it look a whole lot better. I couldn't tell you how many times I've done a carving somewhere and people walk up and they notice all the details. And that's the part you appreciate, because people noticing your hard work, that's a good thing. That means they're paying attention to it rather than just thinking as they walk by your booth that it's something plastic from another country. Well, this isn't. This is wood, and this is a lot of work to get here. We're at an hour and about a half, and so I'm going to stop this video here in just a few minutes because I'm trying to keep them down to about 30 minutes. First one was about 16. I think the second one was 44, so that's about an hour. So here we are at about a half an hour. Anyway, what we've done is we've cut out these buckles. We've given the belt a shape. We've done the pages. We've done the edges of the covers. And the two other things that we would do to this was some kind of design here and some kind of face, either right here on the front corner of the spine, or the back corner of the spine. I kind of like it back here. I don't necessarily want it to be the most focus of attention right here. This is going to be whatever design we do. I think I'm just going to get on the internet, find some script that says Book of Spells, and then we'll do that either with a wood burner or a small V tool. So anyway, we'll stop this one. We're at about 30 minutes, close to it, a little bit over. And this is part 3. I'll see you in part 4. Thanks for coming along and having a good time with me. I've had a good time with you too.